the Cup for Time podcast here at the Canton United Methodist Church. My name is Pastor Clay. During this season of Advent, we are using a resource from Reverend Matt Rawl, a pastor in the Louisiana Conference of the United Methodist Church. It's a book of his called Experiencing Christmas, which focuses on how our senses are engaged and maybe even overloaded during this season. Over the next few weeks, we are going to explore how the sights, sounds, flavors, and feelings of the season all point us to the momentous birth of Jesus Christ. This week and throughout the Advent season, you're going to hear from Eric Stearns, my normal co-host of the podcast, as well as a few other ministry colleagues who are doing this series with me respond to a question based on the theme of the week. This week, we're going to explore our favorite sights of the season and how this season looking different points us to Jesus. So let's get into it. Welcome back to the podcast, a podcast regular now at this point. My very dear friend, Pastor Stephanie Schneider. I want to give just a brief introduction to who you are, and then maybe just talk a little bit about why you're doing an Experiencing Christmas sermon series with us this Advent.
Sounds good. I'm Stephanie Schneider. I serve First Baptist Church in Glens Falls, New York, and Village Baptist Church in Fort Edward. They're about I can get from one church to the other church in about 11 minutes.
Nice.
So they're nearby. But I have two boys. I'm married to Andrew, who's from Brandon, the lone Baptist in the world of Methodists.
Yes. Yep.
So.
The Stephanie Schneider seminary journey. The lone Baptist in the midst of a bunch of Methodists. So
You're not wrong.
I know I'm not wrong. Yep.
So this year we've been talking about like ways to grow deeper in our faith, really kind of spiraling into some heavy pieces in 2024. And I think the reason it makes sense is because I've just come off something so heavy that as we enter into a new season that, well, it's heavy work, that we just have some fun hearing. I like this series because it engages all of the body in experiencing Christmas with intentionality versus anything else. And I think the one phrase from the first Sunday or from this one is the difference between anticipation and expectation, and really getting in and diving into that, like expecting more. Like I really loved being able to tie in like Christmas and communion together this last week. So I think, that's what heavy stuff, but fun.
Right. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Creativity. Yep. So, and also I'm tired. So having friends to collaborate with, that, and people just to bear the load and bounce ideas off of really helps. So
absolutely.
I'm glad to be doing this together.
Yeah. Glad to have you with us, Pastor Teresa. We've had you on the podcast a couple of different times, but just can you give a little brief introduction to who you are and how you came into this Advent study together?
Sure. Well, hello, Canton UMC. It's good to see you all again. Last time I was on the podcast with Pastor Clay, I was serving the church in Miller, South Dakota. But since then, I have been reappointed, and so I greet you today from snowy and cold West Fargo, North Dakota. I serve the Flame of Faith United Methodist Church up here. So how I came to be a part of this, there were several of us clergy who were looking at doing this study, and you were all kind of bemoaning the increased responsibilities on clergy during Advent, and just thinking we never have enough time to truly dedicate to building our worship services in a way that we would like. And so we decided to divide and conquer. And so we have pooled our resources and are collaborating together, which is really great. I have some brilliant colleagues, and Clay
Oh,
is one of them. So
well, and
you are
so are
lucky to
you.
have him.
I also have brilliant colleagues, and you're definitely one of them as well. Don't sell
Thank you.
yourself short there, Teresa. So, welcome back to the podcast, podcast favorite of mine, at least. Pastor Peggy Hanson. I want to give just a little bit of an introduction as to who you are, and then why. How is it that you've come to this sermon series, this Advent?
Well, hi, I am Peggy Hanson. I serve at Madison United Methodist Church in Madison, South Dakota. And when we were selecting Advent Sermon Series, I gave my worship team a selection of 3 to 4 options to choose from. And I give them a description, what it is, how the weeks break down, and then I let them to decide. And so I never include the author when I give them that because I don't want them just to rely on, we know that name.
Right.
And so I was excited when they chose Matt Rawls' Experiencing Christmas. I may have stacked the deck slightly because in the options out of the 4, I put 2 Matt Rawls in there.
That's fair.
As,
He has
because I was like,
several
these are
wonderful Advent offerings. So,
yeah, I thought they could be fun. And so, yeah, that's how we ended up here. And then I was excited when others were like, hey, I'm doing it too. Let's do it together.
yes. Nice. That's awesome.
Anytime we get to collaborate, it's a good day.
Absolutely. I'm joined by my dear friend, Beata Ferris from the Pierre First United Methodist Church in Pierre, South Dakota. Thanks for being here. Beata, I'm just going to give a little bit of an introduction into who you are and your role at Pierre First, and then just why we're doing this sermon series.
Well, thanks, Clay. I'm so happy to be here and join you on your podcast. Yes, I am a certified lay minister in the United Methodist Church. Woo! Thanks. And I am serving at Pierre First United Methodist Church in Pierre, South Dakota as the Discipleship Coordinator, which basically means I oversee anything that has to do with introducing people to Jesus or deepening their relationship with Jesus. And so our children's and youth programs I'm involved with, our adult Bible studies. I preach from time to time. I do house visits and things like that. So I just function sort of like an associate pastor without the title.
Fair. Totally fair.
Yep.
Yeah, and so we're here to discuss the Experiencing Christmas, experiencing the sights and sounds of the season and how it all points us to Jesus. And so just would love to hear some of your motivation behind why this sermon series for Pierre First.
Well, honestly, because we have a worship team and the leader of the worship team, the lead pastor here at Pierre First, chose this book months ago that we would be doing Matt Rawls' Experiencing Christmas. And so I inherited this Christmas Advent study because it was what was chosen for our congregation as a whole. But I was super excited to find out that our colleagues, Teresa and you, and let's see who else is on our group. Teresa,
Peggy,
you, and I, we're all doing this study together at the same time. And so thought, well, why not pool our creativity and our connection so that we can work together. And that has been an absolute blessing in my life, is to get to work with dear friends during this Advent season because as United Methodists, that's what we do. We are connectional, and we work together, and we share the gifts that each person has for the betterment of the entire church community.
Absolutely. You're, the regular on the podcast, Eric, but just for those that might be listening from different congregations, who are you, and what's your role in the church, and just why are you excited for this sermon series?
Sure. Yep. So I'm Eric Stearns. I've been a member at Canton United Methodist for forever. Grew up here, born and raised, born in the church. Have been blessed to be a part of this church for 33 years now, except for the brief time in Wilmer and Brookings. I've got 3 children in this church now, and it's been a lot of fun to watch them do some of the things that I got to do when I was a kid.
Yeah.
As most, I don't know, I feel like most churches, a lot of the traditions stay the same of what each church does. And, as we start to get, as our kids start to help with like turkey supper or decorating the church or whatever, it's just kind of fun to see that next generation doing those types of things.
For sure.
So yeah, this sermon series, I think it's an interesting take on on a traditional Christmas song. I don't know, it's just kind of a fun way to build into what Christmas really means.
Mm.
Um, I think so often, and I suppose this is any Advent, this one no different than any others, but so often we don't focus on what the end really is or what the end really means. Um, I think this is kind of a fun way to, especially as we work through go through the podcast and hear different perspectives of what we're about to discuss.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a fun way to look at these different things, but still understand what the true focus is.
Right.
So yeah, that'll be good. This will be
Yeah.
good.
So the first week of this sermon series really focused on the sights of the season, the things that we get to see that are different as a part of this series. And so just what are your favorite memories around Christmas sights or Christmas lights specifically? What looks different now and why does that matter?
I think one of my favorite things growing up was getting in the car with my family or driving back from some event and driving around town to see the lights or coming back from another town. I was a gymnast, and so, we'd get to another town and we'd drive around to see their lights before a meet, the night before a meet or anything like that. What's been really fun is being a parent, and my husband has started driving different ways home in the evening,
Sure.
just so we can see some Christmas lights. And I think that's really, for me, the thing that makes it's made me excited about Christmas.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's a really great memory for me.
Yeah. Way cool. Yeah, getting to watch, I mean, we're both parents, and so getting to watch our kids experience things is just so much. I mean, it's fun to do stuff still as adults, but it's just so much cooler to watch your kid watch something for the first time or do something for the first time.
Friday night, Saturday night, we went to Lake George, and they had they light up their park, and then they have fireworks that go off over the lakes, and then local fire departments bring their trucks decorated in lights. So similar to like the Parade of Lights downtown of Sioux Falls. And Caleb, it was his first time he's old enough to recognize fireworks. And I was totally prepared for him to bawl his eyes out. And he laughed and loved it and was clapping. And then I heard a wow.
Oh.
And I was just I didn't even know he knew the word. But it was just this yeah. So that's the lights right now are kind of really precious to me.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
So the first question we're going to be wrestling with during this Advent season is so this is about Do You See What I See week. And so what is your favorite memory around Christmas sights or Christmas lights? Or what do you look for when it comes to the Christmas season?
So I actually have two different answers for this. There's the more serious one and then the more silly one. So the serious one, I love getting up in the morning, and of course this time of year it's still dark, but having the lights on the garland on the banister and the lights on the tree, and those are the only lights in the house. And I love sitting there in the morning with my cup of coffee, just basking in the warmth of the lights. There's just something so peaceful for me about that. My silly answer. So when I was growing up, we were, or maybe an exaggeration, but we were definitely lower middle class. And so our tree topper was not a pretty angel or one of those crystal type star things. Once upon a time, my mom had taken a piece of cardboard, probably from a pizza box, and cut a star shape, wrapped it in tinfoil, poked one hole in the center just big enough for a single Christmas light, and taped a rubber band on the back. And that was our tree topper. And every year you had to put a blue light in the center of that star. Had to be blue. Why? I don't know. That's what we did. And so this cheesy, rather chintzy looking star sat atop our tree for years and years and years. And one year, so my mother is sort of the anti-Martha Stewart. She hated all things decorating, all things hostessing. Just let her out in the yard to plant flowers and play in the dirt, and she was happy. One year, she got, I don't know, tired of waiting for me to put up the tree. And I came home from school, and she had done it. And the light in the star was not blue. And this was an abomination. I could not cope. Like with a red lit star on top of the tree. And so here's me going around like plucking bulbs out and reorganizing them so that I could have my blue light.
Perfect.
So
That's awesome.
apparently I get a little particular about my Christmas lights.
That traditions are to be respected. Yes, absolutely. Oh, I would just love to hear, Peggy, from you. What is your favorite memory around either the Christmas sights or Christmas lights, or what do you expect to see during this Advent Christmas time?
I love Christmas lights. As a kid, we would all load up in my mom's station wagon and drive around because there were certain spots in our home city that would be much more extravagant than even what we did, and we would go all out. Like we had a two-story house, so both levels had lights. A star hung in the center of the top story, and we had Santa and a sleigh and reindeer on the roof, and they were handmade by my grandpa, who I never met. And then on the front lawn, we had a plastic nativity, and my brother had built even like the stable for it and a manger. After years, it lost a wise man because when stored, he got squished. So we'd sometimes make jokes and take turns going and being the other wise man. And we also had the plastic, like Mickey and Minnie were on our front porch caroling. So we were a house that people came and looked at. And to decorate the house took an all weekend kind of thing for both the inside and the outside. So I love Christmas lights. I love lights on trees. One of my favorite things is just to hang out by the Christmas tree and either knit or read. And if I'm really feeling festive, I'll turn on my little fireplace space heater thing with or without the heat. So yeah, I love looking around at all the lights that come up at Christmas.
Yeah.
I think my favorite nativity that you and I have seen is the one that exists in Pierre
Yes.
of
I was
baby
hoping you'd talk
Jesus.
about this.
Yeah. It's a little baby Jesus. I think it's all wood cut out. With Santa has his hat off, kneeling by the manger, and a goose, a Canadian goose, Canada goose right next to it. Also there, which I don't know, like, what doesn't say Pierre, South Dakota, than that nativity? Santa, Jesus, and a goose.
Yep.
And it would bring me joy every year when I drive by, and I'm like, hee. I mean, and again, the lights like at the trees at the Capitol.
Oh yeah.
It's so cheesy, but it's so fantastic. Like, do I want to go? Yes. Yes, I do.
Yeah. Might as well.
Well, it's for me, it's always been lights. I love lights. I'm all about lights. Lights on the house, lights in the house, lights, lots of colors on the tree, lights everywhere. But for me, the Christmas season really, and living in Pierre, we have the Christmas at the Capitol where they fill the Capitol halls with trees and lights. And I didn't grow up in Pierre. I moved here as an adult, and it was one of those things where every year we'd take the kids to the Capitol to try to find the perfect family Christmas picture to be the perfect Christmas card. And it was always so incredibly stressful because either the kids didn't behave, that we couldn't find a tree that we liked, or there was just too many people. And so when I finally let go of that need to take the perfect Christmas picture in front of the perfect Christmas tree and to simply go to the Capitol without a camera and sometimes even by myself and to just stand in the middle of the rotunda there and to look down each hallway and to just see the lights.
Yeah.
It was really a beautiful thing when I let go of what I thought should be happening at Christmas and just allowed the moment to fill me. And so I've tried to make that a spiritual practice, if you will, of my Advent season is to go at least one time by myself and to just sit in the midst of all that's happening in the Capitol and take in the lights and the people walking by there. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. One of the sites that Peggy Hanson talked about was the nativity scene in Pierre that is very indicative of the city of Pierre, of it being Santa, Jesus, and a goose. Does it still exist? Is it still up?
Well,
what's the
you know,
status?
I didn't actually notice it. I haven't noticed it this year. I do know that they do have a nativity set right there in the Capitol, which is an interesting dichotomy that we get here in South Dakota, that we have an actual full-on nativity set. I believe it's sponsored by the Knights of Columbus, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Right there in the Capitol building halls. And so do with that what you will. It does exist and it happens in our space. But I haven't noticed I have seen it in years past, but I haven't noticed the Santa and the Goose nativity set yet this year.
Okay. Be on the lookout.
That's right. I'll have to keep my eyes open to
definitely
see what I see.
Yes.
My favorite Christmas site is probably shared with a lot of people from this area. But my favorite Christmas site is going to see the Christmas lights at Falls Park. The Winter Wonderland that the city of Sioux Falls puts on is. I've only gone to a few different Christmas lights displays that are, kind of public. And it's this one and one in St. Paul, which was supposed to be their big one. And Sioux Falls blows St. Paul out of the water. It is such a cool place with the music and everything that's going on. But they do such a nice job with lights. I often think when I'm in there or when I'm there, you can just see how much passion that whoever they work with or the city, apparently, obviously the city has a passion for it because they keep doing it. But whoever they're working with really has a passion for what they're doing to kind of show their best when they're during this really important season. So my favorite site during this season is that Christmas lights display at Falls Park. I don't know. For those who haven't gone, it is flippin' gorgeous.
It is.
And they do such a nice job, and it's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we were down on vacation in Florida last year, and they were having one where we were, and we drove through it, and it was just kind of like, I mean, it's not the falls though, so
right, exactly,
just so much better. It's so cool.
We went to the story behind the St. Paul one. They had advertisements everywhere when we were up there one winter. For some, Jen and I were just up there one winter, and this great light show, and people are talking about it and stuff. I'm like, okay, we better go see this thing because if it's that cool, we love Christmas lights.
And
we sat in line for an hour in the car waiting to drive through. There wasn't a walk around like the Falls Park is, where you can kind of, where you get to be up close to it, right?
Yeah.
And we drove through, and it's all these just dorky little figurines of lights for probably 3/4 of a mile through a park. And that was it. And you played the music in the car, and that was it. And I'm just like, it's terrible. It's just not Falls Park.
That's not it. Yeah.
So, no, the fall's, it's really cool.
Thanks for listening to our Cut for Time conversation. Join us for worship in person or on Facebook Live Sundays at 10 o'clock Central Time. And now go in peace and serve the Lord.